I'm Sam Legassic.
And I'm Dreadful Dan Gallagher. And we're two old buddies that have lived our life at the edge of the mainstream.
So come join us where things are a little odd. This is the
You've got to believe.
It's alive! It's loose!
This earth of yours will be reduced to a burned-out cinder.
Hi everybody, welcome to ODDCAST Movies, Music and Gaming, and here with me is Dreadful Danji.
Hello, everybody, and Sam.
Oh, everybody and me. That's how God likes to see it as well.
Yeah, on a different pedestal.
Yeah, exactly. Just looking up at everyone. So today we are going to do another hit and a shit. This is where we take a band, an artist of some sort, and we have a song that we like and a song that we don't like. Hence the hit and shitness. So, God, if you're listening to this and you don't know that by now, then pooey on Yui.
God help your soul.
Exactly. You should know. You should know. It's bloody obvious in the title, isn't it? God's sake. But that's how we're going to do it. So, and today we're going to be talking about QOTSA. Oh, sorry. Queens of the Stone Age. Let's have a listen.
Bloody good band, this, Queens of the Stone Age, and a bit of a step back into the past and a walk down memory lane again for you and me, isn't it? I think a favourite of ours in the late 90s. I got into Queens of the Stone Age right from the very off, because basically when that first album came out, I heard Dave Grohl being interviewed on the radio, and they said, like, oh, what's a cool band that everyone should be listening to? And he said Queens of the Stone Age, because obviously he was a big Caius fan. So I actually got that album in 1998 and I loved it.
Yeah.
And
I remember specifically seeing the cover, listening to it and being like, this is great. And I think I taped it off you, which probably sounds about right. I don't think I bought my own cover until much later. Bought my own version until much later. Weirdly, like, right, with that album, I saw like there was a thing that got thrown up where it was like the top Queens of the Stone Age albums ranked, right?
Right.
And the bottom of the list was the first album. I was like, what?
Well,
are you mad?
Yeah. So this is it, because then obviously after that they kind of went off in a bit of a different direction, and they got a lot more. They got a lot more fans on a major label, different sound. So I guess a lot of people think that they are that, which is more of a kind of, to me, mainstream hard rock band.
Yeah.
Whereas that first album is definitely more in the old kind of stoner rock camp, which I prefer. So it's easily their best album, in my opinion, head and shoulders. But yeah, when Rated R came out, then obviously like really excited and was really into it. But then when 2002 Songs for the Deaf came out, was not into that. And at that point...
Are you joking?
At that point, it kind of... Yeah. Well, then I looked back and I was like, yeah, actually, Rated R's not as good as I thought it was at the time. I can see the beginning of this sound. To me, Songs for the Deaf, it's just too clean and it's just really polished commercial rock. Don't particularly like that, like the single, No One Knows.
Yeah.
And
probably their biggest hit.
Yeah. It just wasn't the sound for me, basically. I've only ever heard it a handful of times, that album. And that was it. I dropped off.
Okay.
And it wasn't until what album then came out a bit later on, like Clockwork.
Yeah. Oh my God, you took that much of a hiatus?
Yeah, I'd skipped like 3 or 4 albums.
Fucking hell.
And someone, I think when I left a job, they didn't know what to get me, so they bought me just like 10 albums on CD. And some guy bought me like Clockwork, and I was like, "This is really good." But then I haven't stuck with them since then. So yeah, that's where I am with Queens of the Stone Age. I found this kind of a bit difficult to negotiate, actually.
It's that I'm actually really surprised about that. I'm going to be honest. So I guess for me, that first album was amazing, and I still think it's an amazing album, to be honest. Then Rated R came out after that, and that was very like, you've got Nick Olivieri, I think it's his name, like shouting a lot. This is when I started seeing them live. I was probably with you. I imagine you'd have gone to a few of these gigs as well.
We saw them definitely in 2000, supporting Foo Fighters.
Oh, really?
At Stratford Rex.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
I didn't even realise I saw them back then. Some good memory. But yeah, I know I've seen Queens of Stone Age a few times. But yeah, it would have been, I don't think we saw them with that first album.
No.
But yeah, Rated R sounds, I definitely saw them during Rated R days. Anyway, but that album, I was like, there's some really good tracks here, but it's different. It's not the kind of stoner rock. And I like, and also that, like, Nicotine, that feel good hit of the summer, this actual song. I remember thinking, like, I don't actually like this song that much. Like, I think it's literally kind of like a novelty song a little bit, but I do like a lot of the others sitting on this album.
Yeah.
And then Songs for the Deaf came out, and that's why I'm completely shocked, actually, because that is, for me, hands down the best Queens of Stone Age album. Not only the best Queens of Stone Age album, it's one of my favorite albums of all time.
Wow.
Because many reasons. One, it was like it kind of became a supergroup in that it got Mark Lanigan was doing more, basically, and I love his vocals on these songs as well, and some of that kind of like give it some of that like bluesy kind of tone. You've got Dave Grohl doing what I would say is the best drumming he's ever done on anything ever.
Okay.
And especially and during this time, I think I went, oh God, what was I at? I think I was at a festival or something, and I'm pretty sure he was drumming. And it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, because the drumming on that album, especially when you see it like live, it is like absolutely astounding. And the drums are turned up pretty high on that album as well. So they're very much aware that it's great. And yeah, it's just I like the way that it's a concept album of going from like, I believe it's going from like LA to the desert, basically.
Okay.
And that's kind of supposed to be the idea.
I know there's little like radio
That's
interludes.
right, yeah. So it's a radio thing is kind of supposed to be like you're in the car driving to it. And I like the way the album is laid out. I like the fact that there's like, it kind of comes in and out with the radio stuff, and I enjoy that because it makes me want to listen to it in full. Every time I put it on, I want to start at the beginning and make my way through it because it feels like that's how it should be listened to. Yeah. And like every single song on there, I'm just like, it's amazing. Just love it. Every single one, like even the ones which are like, sometimes I listen to that album, it's like, Do It Again, for instance. It's like, I'm just like, oh, it's kind of like, whatever, yeah, listen, all right, do it again. And then when it gets to the chorus bit, I'm just like, fucking hell, I love this song. I forgot how much I love it. And it's not even like near one of the best songs of the album. So yeah, for me, this was by far and away but the one thing, and you are completely right, is that No One Knows just got played to death. And I don't think it's that great a song. I think it's all right. Yeah. I think it's quite like because you've got that first track, You Think I Ain't Worth $1 for Like a Million. It's just kind of like screamy, shouty Nick Olivieri, and it's kind of like da-da-da-da-da, and it kind of thumps you around the face a little bit. Yeah. Then you've got this like do. But I quite like the whole like, it sounds weird. Like the pace is a bit weird. And then you've got that cool like Dave Grohl drumming at the end. It kind of like really builds up and then do, and then back. I like that. So I know what you're saying about Bit, but I think that's more to do with the fact that I think that's you looking back on it and maybe it being like their big pop song rather than if you maybe like sat with it and listened to it beginning to end again. I think you might appreciate it more.
Yeah,
they've got like First It Giveth, and then First It Giveth. It's great.
I didn't. No one knows. You know, I bought that when it came out. Actually, I've still got the 7-inch single.
Right.
So I did like it, I think, initially, and then I just probably, maybe through like overexposure, got a bit annoyed and bored with it.
Yeah, and that's yeah. I mean, like another one is Go with the Flow, where
I don't really like that one.
See, I really like that, but it's the same. It's a kind of Territorial Pissings thing a little bit, where it's like it's this big, fast kind of like thing that kind of comes in and out, like it's like breakneck speed almost. But then, it kind of sometimes you're just like, I've listened to it too much because that's my always like go-to track when it's just like I don't know, going for a run or doing whatever. It's like it's just on all my playlists. And now it's like, well, okay, I don't really want to listen to that because I've listened to it about 1 million times. So I'm not really doing. But so that just surprised me. And then
I think what's missing is like that like slow, dry, spacey kind of stuff that's on the first album. That's what I loved. And then sort of represented a bit on Rated R. Songs like Leg of Lamb I really like. Mm-hmm. And there's kind of like that's not here, and it just feels like they've totally transformed into just like a commercially focused MTV ready rock band.
Yeah, I think it's funny you say that. Yeah, sorry, go on.
And there's a few songs here, and I think when I heard them, because they're re-recorded from the Desert Session stuff, so I had all the Desert Sessions, and I liked all that. So as well, I'm like, they've just because that's what they did as well. They did it on their other albums, is re-record songs from Desert Sessions. But here, I was really like, they sound worse to me. So Millionaire and Hanging Tree. Yeah, I was just like, I prefer the old versions, and that kind of soured me a bit as well. But I think at the time, I just wasn't in the right mood actually for this album at that time, and it coincided with the point where the Foo Fighters became utter shit as well. I think I was just a bit burnt out on all of it.
Well, that's why it's kind of funny as well, is because, the Foo Fighters have got shit, and then Dave Grohl had pretty much straight away done this incredible drumming on what I thought was this amazing, quite dark, slightly weirdly bluesy rock thing, but it felt quite heavy and thick. But that's the kind of problem, right? Is that afterwards, so I feel like the first album had its own style. Second album kind of had its own style, and it was a bit more weirder, like, Rated R. I felt a bit more stranger. Yeah. Then this one, Songs for the Deaf, was kind of like we're gonna make a big concept album. We're gonna kind of, really go at it. We've got fucking Dave Grohl on drums. We're really gonna hit hard, and it worked. And then for me, it just kind of tapered out a little bit because it's like, I was like, I don't know how you can beat that. And then Lullabies to Paralyze came out, which I thought had some okay songs, but it sounded weird. Like I was just like, I don't really know what's happening here. Weirdly, Era Vulgaris, which is often looked over, I really fucking love. And I think it's got some great fucking songs on there.
Yeah.
But Ben people don't talk about it. Yeah. It's weird. No one talks about it. And I'm just like, I had that going in rotation on my car for, I want to say like 2 years or something stupid when that came out. Like it didn't leave. And it's because it's just got some great, and it's a little bit weird again. It's a bit like Rated R in that sense, where it's like, it's got tracks that they're trying to do something a bit quirky or something with, which I thought was quite interesting. And then, like, I remember like Clockwork coming out. Can't believe that's 2013. But I remember thinking, this is okay. Like, this is kind of going back a little bit. This is a bit like Safer Ground or whatever. Fine. I think maybe Era Vulgaris was maybe a bit too out there for maybe what people were expecting. And then Villains, I haven't really listened to properly, but I just don't like what I've heard. And it's got a weird, they've gone for like a different sound, and then literally like a different sound, like it's produced weird. And I don't think I like it. Like, hats off for maybe trying to do something new, but it's like, you're still kind of writing the same music, but you're, instead of trying to like mix things up musically, it's like you're trying to do it in the suite or something. You're trying to do it through production.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily the best way of doing it. But yeah, and it's hard to believe that's 2017 because again, that feels like it was only yesterday, but it's not. So anyway, we've talked about that for ages already, haven't we? Bloody hell.
Yeah. Well, we've had some big revelations to deal with.
I know. I can't get over that. Like, I've honestly, like, I just presumed everyone thought it was the best Queen's album, and especially you being a big fan of Dave Grohl, and like it's much better than any of the stuff he was drumming on, like fucking Nirvana or even Foos or anything like that. It's like hard. It's crazy. Like if you hear like the live version of, it's going to be of some of those songs, let's say, with Dave drumming, it is like shit. Fuck, that's just it. So it can't. What drummer is going to kind of beat that? There isn't one, in my opinion. Anyway, but let's start with one of the ones that you like, though. Let's start with your hit.
Well, I obviously kind of thought I'll pick something from the first album, and then I thought that's really predictable because you'll be expecting me to do that.
Yeah. So
I've actually pulled out a song that I really, really, really like from like Clockwork.
Okay.
And that is My God Is the Sun. Sam, remember that one? Familiar with
that?
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, it's I always remember that that riff it's cool. That's the thing with Josh Homme generally, is that he does come up with some really fucking cool riffs. Yeah, I like the song. I don't love it. I wouldn't say that this is like the best Queens of the Stone Age song or anything like that. But it kind of ranks for me like near the between the middle and the top, I would say. So I definitely don't dislike it. I think it's quite cool, nice, but it doesn't burn itself into my memory, put it that way. But you really like it then, do you?
Yeah, I mean, despite everything I'd sort of said earlier, if I think about this kind of like more heavy rock sound, then this is one of my favorites in that kind of sphere. I just think, a really cool riff. And I think after the first kind of intro bit, it's going to kind of dip down, but that kind of bass keeps going. Just like carries it in a kind of different vibe to anything else, and kind of like not what you expect. And a really good vocal, like classic kind of like Josh Homme drawl. He's like bluesy, kind of really kind of like understated, really cool. Don't give a fuck kind of vocal.
Yeah.
And then like bam, big exciting chorus. And after not hearing the band for 12 years at that point.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, actually, they're still doing some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I can see that. Cool. Fair enough. I might start with my shit.
Oh, controversial.
To mix it up a little bit. I guess this was quite difficult. It's quite difficult to choose a shit song because I don't really think there is a particularly like shit Queens of the Stone Age song. There are songs that are worse than others, but there's not, for me, I don't feel like there's like a handful of like stand out, this is dreadful kind of stuff. But the one I chose is off the new album, actually. Well, the latest one, Villains. And it is Domesticated Animals. Let's have a listen.
Today is the day the wilderness comes to reclaim everything. Burning bridge lights up the sky. Zip your lip until you've picked a side. You You get right up and sit back down. A revolution.
So Dan, what do you think? Had you heard that before?
No, I hadn't. I was really hypnotized actually by that song because it wasn't what I expected at all. And I was just kind of enthralled, like listening to, what's going on here? What's going on there? And it progressed in a way I totally didn't expect. I kind of liked it. I can see why you picked it. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. It's cool that they've done something really quite different, but I don't know if it quite works. Is that what you feel?
Yeah, it feels very like new Queens of the Stone Age. Like, okay, it's just like what they're doing now kind of thing. I thought it was quite slow and a bit self-indulgent, and also like I think like he's trying to be like David Bowie or something at some points. That's
exactly what I thought. Exactly what I thought. It's that detached, aloof, cold, that kind of like Thin White Duke era Bowie. A little bit station to station kind of. And actually, it's got all that kind of like jerky rhythm and everything. It's kind of like a bit more like new wavy disco-y.
Yeah.
But then it hasn't got like the new wavy disco-y production. It's still kind of like got the Queens of the Stone Age type sounds in there, and then some weird little bits as well.
Yeah.
So I find it quite difficult to get a handle on what this is.
Yeah, I just find it boring. Basically, it kind of does like some bits at the end or whatever, and it does whatever, fine. But I'm just like
Yeah, emotionally, it doesn't really go anywhere.
Fucking hell, it's just three. It's like someone's like just picked up a guitar or something, which is weird for like Josh Homme. I don't really like it. So yeah, sorry, that was my shit.
Weird one. Do you want to hit us up with something good though, so we don't get two shits in a row?
Okay, yeah, I'll hit you up with a hit then. This was really tough, and it came down to three songs, but really I think it came down to two songs for me. So the one that I've chosen is from Songs for the Deaf, and it is Song for the Dead. Song for the Dead? Song for Dan?
It's all right. It's okay. My thoughts on that were the first minute, if he had a different guitar pedal, that was like pure thrash. That was quite cool, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then then it segued into that like kind of like more typical Queens of the Stone Age territory where it's like, oh.
Yeah.
And then that main bulk of the song, it was okay. And then towards the end, it kind of went back to the thrashy part, but it sounded a hell of a lot like All My Life. The same thrashy part on All My Life.
Okay.
But who's that singing? Is that Mark Lanigan?
Yeah.
I think
I presume so, yeah.
I didn't like Mark Lanigan in Queens of the Stone Age as well.
Did you not? Fuck, mate. Love him in Queens of the Stone Age.
I liked the first album. And I liked that it was three guys, who'd all been in Kyuss. Because when the drummer was that guy, what's his name? Alfredo something.
Right.
When they started.
I remember. So.
He was the drummer in Kyuss towards the end. He played on When the Circus Leaves Town. So it was those two, and they brought back Nick. And it was like, that was Queens of the Stone Age. And then by the second album, it's like Mark Lanigan, and there's a different drummer, and there's just like loads of, it seems like there's like 7 guys now. And then by the time it's Songs for Death, it's just like basically whoever I feel like I want in the band.
Yeah.
And it's just like a revolving thing. And I didn't like that because Desert Sessions had that like revolving door project approach.
Yeah. But Dan, what do you think about this song?
Well, it's got Mark Lanigan, and I'd rather if just Josh sang. And
that final minute,
yeah,
like when I listen to that song really loud, that final minute, I'm just like, it just blasts me in the face with pure growness. And that's what I believe, especially during this time, this is what they kind of would close their sets out with. And they would just like basically keep it going until like, it felt like a natural end basically. And all that. And it's just like the most intense fucking cathartic thing. It's kind of what I was saying before. It's like, it's insane. Like these songs live, like, I don't know, maybe I'm being biased to it just for that. But yeah, like I love every single song of that. But that one song is the one where I'm just like, when I hear that and turn it up, it's all building up to that final minute for me. And then it's just like hell hath unleashed itself. And I'm like lapping it up.
Where did you see them with Dave on drums?
I don't remember.
Because I forgot he toured with them as well.
Yeah.
Briefly after this. It's
where he had his shitty kind of weird bowl haircut thing, if you remember.
Yeah.
I can always forget like how bloody young he was, if you know what I mean, like especially in like Nirvana and all this stuff, but then doing Foos and all that.
Yeah.
And like to us, he was like an adult when really he was only like 10 years older or something than us at the time.
Jesus.
Yeah, it just makes you think like, and we think, oh yeah, back when we were kids, like Monkey Wrench or whatever. And it's like, well, he wasn't that much older. Yeah, you think about it now, like think about where the Foo Fighters were 10 years ago. That's where we are now. And what have we done? Nothing.
Shut up. Maybe discussing your hits, not mediating on a
hitting you with a life lesson,
waste of life.
Yeah. So that was the hit. So what's next on your list?
Well, it means we've got to end on a shit, which is a bit of a downer. But the good news is, like you, I really don't think they've got anything that's really shit. Not that I'm aware of, anyway. Like I said, I don't really know Lullabies to Paralyze, and I know a lot of people kind of say maybe they're worse. So maybe there's something hiding out on that album that's genuinely bad.
There's a few. I don't know. Like I don't mind Lullabies to Paralyze. Like you've got Little Sister on there, which is pretty good. Burn the Witch I quite like. In My Head I don't mind. I quite like that as well. I mean, those are the 3 songs in the middle really. But I know like this. Yeah, it was a weird. Lullabies to Paralyze was a weird thing to follow Songs of the Deaf up with. And it's also like, I do remember, because that cover as well, like the previous covers, I don't know, like it was a weird cover to kind of go with because it's just like nothing.
Yeah. It wasn't a very commercial move as well, like waiting 3 years and then just releasing something that looks quite bland.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. Okay, cool. So what is it? What's your shit?
Well, then I was like, they've definitely done some covers that aren't that good. Like a lot of the covers in the early days. But I was like, that's a bit cheap picking a cover. Yeah. So I have gone with Ode to Clarissa. That much. I swear we saw them do this live as well. I
I know what you mean though. Like there's an element, like with all the Nick stuff, it's like, I don't know, like some people are like, yeah, because he brought in that energy and like, and like that kind of randomness or whatever, and that kind of intensity. And then I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, it's just like, there's an element where it just feels like he's shouting a lot, if you know what I mean? But this is kind of one of those things where it's like, I feel like, I don't know who wrote it specifically or whatever, but like trying to do an actual song here and make it a little bit catchy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not, I can see why, same kind of thing. I see why you've chosen it. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's shit, but then I wouldn't have said mine is shit either. So
yeah, it's just a bit weak, I think.
Yeah. It's a bit nothing.
Yeah, and apparently it's a Nick and Josh co-write. So I don't know what that means, but yeah, it definitely feels like more of a Nick song, but it's not like the other Nick songs. And obviously he had that other band around this time. I can't remember what it's called, like Tension
I
Ahead.
remember. Yeah, something like that.
Which was more shouty. This feels like a bit of like a pastiche almost of like a bluesy rock and roll kind of song.
Yeah.
Bit of like a throwback, but it just doesn't work for me. It's not really anything interesting about it.
No, it just feels like they've been in a jam. They've just done that little hook. Yeah. I'm the one. Yeah. And then they're like, okay, well, that's kind of a song. Let's just record it. There's something there. But there's no, like, doesn't feel like there's any thought or love, attention really given to it properly.
Yeah. And quite rightly, it was just a B-side. So, you know, we can't give it too hard a time. But yeah, I really struggled to find something I could really, really dig into. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that that's the kind of thing that I always feel like has bothered Queens of Stone Age, is that as time's gone on, it's just a lot of like, not shit, but just a lot of mediocrity. A lot of there's a lot of the sounds and songs kind of, yeah, okay, it's a Queens of Stone Age song, but like nothing like, oh, what was that kind of thing, which you had beforehand, or like, God, that's a weird thing to do. It's piqued my interest.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's less of that, which is weird because that era of Vulgaris, I think, had a fair bit of that, and it just didn't really do very well. So I don't know what people like or want. I think I don't know. I would like them to like come back like and just knock something out of the park, because that's the thing I always think with bands like this, they get a bit lazy with it all.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh yeah, I've got my setup. This is the guitars I use. These are the pedals I use. This is the studio. This is the producer. And then we're going to let's knock out another 12 songs that I kind of been messing around with a little bit, and it's fine. Rather than like, okay, cool, I'm going to sit here, do this. Maybe if I try that, maybe if I do that, maybe if I listen to something else and I try and incorporate that in. I don't know, maybe it's doing all that, but I don't know, it just feels a little bit like they find their groove and then they just get a bit boring. And it's weird because I was like looking at, randomly, I was just getting into The Cure a little bit more. And I was thinking, it's fucking weird, like because I always think like you kind of hear songs and you can kind of tell it's a Cure song. Mainly it's because of its voice, really. But they do have really like eclectic material out there, like from the really fucking poppy pop to like the really dark shit to like this. And you forget that they've been going since like fucking 70s, or whatever. Yeah. Like a really super long time. They've just done loads of stuff, and he's always, Robert Smith has always tried to be like I'm trying to do something different all the time and keep it interesting and whatever. And I think that that adds to it. And then like I'm going from like that recently, and then like listening to these Queens of the Stone Age songs, I'm just like, it's all the fucking same. Like that Villains album, okay, it's produced a bit differently or whatever, it sounds a bit differently. But that could have been any time in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
To be honest. And that's what I mean. It's 20 years since fucking Songs of the Deaf. It's 20 years ago. Personally,
I'd like if he just did the first album over and over again.
Yeah, I think you've had that. I don't think you ever go back to doing that. But there's a gap. I do think there's genuinely like a gap in that stoner rock that's not actually stoner rock. Because like it kind of got labelled as stoner rock, but Josh Homme is always adamant where he's like, it's not stoner rock. Like it got labelled as that, but that's not what it's supposed to be. But I think there's something there that people can still tap into before he starts going all like a bit wanky and bluesy, and just having like holding a note for like 2 minutes. Do you know what I mean? And just seeing where that takes you and how you can dance around it a little bit. I don't think he'd do anything like that again.
He's a great guitarist and great riff writer, and he's got a cool voice.
Yeah.
There's so much you could do with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can't imagine what is next. I think the last thing they did, or he did, sorry, I remember seeing was another Desert Sessions album.
Okay. Well, I thought they were going to bring back, what was the one he did with the Led Zeppelin guy? And
Them Crooked Vultures.
Yeah, aren't they doing another Them Crooked Vultures thing? Or maybe I'll make that up.
Well, like a lockdown version.
Yeah, I don't know.
We haven't got anything to do, so maybe we can all Skype each other.
Yeah, do that again.
Oh man, did you see that Foo Fighters Times Like These? Sorry, completely off on a tangent here. But
well, yeah, that's not much tangent. Dave Grohl was in Queens of Stone Age for a bit. Yeah, that's I didn't actually watch it, no, but I saw clips of it when people were talking about it, and I was like, I don't like it.
It's the same thing as weird. Like, we spoke about in the last Hit and a Shit episode we did, where we spoke about Gone Away by The Offspring. It's that moment where you see one of these guys decide to reach back into their past because they've got a song that's so fucking reverent and they just think it's so good, and that, let's do this big pompous overblown version. And it's Times Like These, which is like such a shit song. One of the worst songs on their worst album. Yeah, they like it because it's been around for 20 years now.
Yeah, it's dad rock.
It's horrible. And I actually saw it, I think like Christmas Day, I turned TV on and it was just like opportune, it was coming on. It was one of those horrible, cheesy lockdown things. There's all like people in different corners of the fucking TV screen singing. And there was Dave, like screwing up his face, like trying to be like so emotional. And I was just like, this is disgusting. So at least Josh hasn't done that.
It's weird, yeah. Well, Dave did that thing with his keyboardist mate where they did, I think we talked about this already, where he did each day he covered a new song. Which is quite interesting. That's when he did the Peaches thing, and then Peaches actually turned up weirdly in it. Yeah, hats off to him, like whatever. He's done loads in lockdown. He's just released a fucking film, hasn't he, about his van, or whatever, touring van.
Yeah.
And he's doing a series with his mum. I don't know if maybe that's the same thing. I'm not sure.
And the stuff with his daughter.
People are gonna be like, "What? That was like 5 years ago."
Yeah.
Whoops. These are kind of put on the shelf when we need them. That's a bit of a peek behind the curtain there. If that's why that doesn't make sense. Well, let's see. I mean, that's the thing. He could be dead by the time this goes out. Like, what are they talking about? He died. So that's it. That's Queens of the Stone Age.
Mostly hits and some nice stuff in the middle.
Yeah, they're still a good, great band, but we just want to see what more you got, Josh. Don't give up on us, and don't just keep, to try something. Just try something. Don't write a Queens. Go in thinking I'm not going to write a Queens of the Stone Age album, and see what you come out with.
Yeah.
That's the advice I'd give, and he listens to this obviously, so. No problemo. There is a connection. There is a connection because I'm friends with acquaintances. Used to be friends, but he doesn't talk to me anymore. With Matt Berry, who did it's his show Toast of London, and Josh Homme acted in it. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
It's a character. It's a character in it. So
what, in like one episode, or
an episode.
Huh.
So he must like Matt. I think I vaguely spoke to Matt about it years ago, but he's a bit like, yeah, cool. There is a connection there. So maybe I'll just go and tap Matt up and say, look, can you sort Josh out? Cheers.
Yeah, because probably no one's ever said that to him. We could revitalise his career. No one's just said, Josh King did make a better album.
Apart from his label. Yeah, okay, well, that's it for now. But thanks, everyone, for listening. And keep on with keep getting stoned. I was going to say keep stoning. I don't know.
Yeah, rock out with Queensryche.
Yeah. QOTSA.
Lots of QOTSA.
Ugh. Yeah, okay, that'll do. Let's end on that. Right, thanks, everyone. Bye.
Goodbye.
Hey guys, thank you for listening to Oddcast Movies, Music and Gaming. If you want to get in touch with us or get a movie, album or game put on our list to discuss, then email us at oddcastoddballs@gmail.com or a newwinterpodcast@gmail.com. This is part of a New Winter Podcast network, so head on over to anewwinter.net to check out our other shows. You can also follow us on Instagram at anewwinter, Twitter at anewwinter, and you can head on over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/anewwinter. Thanks for listening and see you again soon.